Okay. So whether you're an undergraduate student or a graduate student, we're thrilled to have you with us. And I think Berkeley time withstanding, I think we can begin with our fall 2026 pre-arrival webinar, Finding Housing at UC Berkeley. Before we go any further, I do want to thank one of our partners for today's presentation. I would like to introduce Jendai, who is here to speak on behalf of our Identity Logan Park. Hi, Jendai. Thanks for your time today.
Hi, thank you. Hi, everyone. Welcome. So my name is Jandai. I am the Senior Property Manager for Identity Logan Park. We are just a few minutes away from campus. At Identity Logan Park, we specialize in providing fully furnished, student-focused housing, really designed to make your transition to Berkeley as seamless and comfortable as possible. Our community offers modern apartments, individual leasing, which is by the bed, and all-inclusive amenities like free internet, study lounges, fitness spaces, and dedicated shuttles all throughout campus. We are voted the must-stay property for uhomes.com. So we really understand moving to a new country and starting at UC Berkeley is both exciting and overwhelming. So our goal is to really create not just a space for you to live, but a supportive community where you can feel at home from day one. So our team is here to guide you through the leasing process, answer any questions, and ensure you have a smooth arrival experience. So we're super excited to be a part of your journey and welcome you to Berkeley.
Thank you so much, Jendai. So please do look up Identity Logan Park for more information. And before we go any further, I will introduce a couple more participants in today's webinar, including myself. I am Wasim. I'm an international student advisor here at Berkeley International Office. We're also joined by several members of the housing department, including Linessa, who's going to be focusing on UC Berkeley's undergraduate housing options today. We've got several members of our graduate housing team. We've also got representatives here from International House and also Berkeley's off-campus housing department as well. So we have a lot of knowledge and expertise on today's call, and we're really grateful for everyone's time on today's call. Today's agenda, we'll start with some points to consider. Before I do the agenda, maybe a quick volume check is in order. I hope everybody can hear me okay. And if you do have any questions or requests throughout today's presentation, you are welcome to submit them. We do have the Q&A function enabled, so I would ask you to try and direct your questions through the Q&A function. If your question is relevant for a particular section that we are addressing at that time, then we will address it. Otherwise, we do have time for questions at the end of the webinar as well. So this is today's agenda. You might want to think about any questions you have for any of these points ahead of time, but we will be covering all of these topics in detail, starting with some points to consider as you are looking for housing. So if you have not yet decided on housing and you have some questions about on-campus or off-campus housing, there's some points to consider. First one, would you like to live on campus or off campus? Obviously, you have to consider your academic and social needs into determining whether to live on campus or off campus. In terms of your diet, do you expect to have a meal plan or do you plan to cook for yourself? Would you like to live alone or with roommates? Where would you like to live? Some questions to consider in terms of where you will live would be, how long do you want your commute to be? What is your budget? Do you know the area around campus that fits you best? And it's also a good idea to check a department map or a map of the campus so that you can identify where the majority of the campus buildings you'll be using are located so that your accommodation suits your academic requirements. In terms of how to find housing, I would like you to make note of our website, the internationaloffice.berkeley.edu. We have a housing page which does have some resources, including a roommate search tool. So if you're looking for a roommate for finding a place, or if you've already found a place and you're looking for an additional roommate, we do have a roommate search tool where you can reach out and include your information. You might also want to consider if you know somebody already on campus who might know somebody else who's looking for a place or can recommend a place. So those are some resources that you might find on our website. In terms of other resources, there is the housing department today will tell you a lot about their resources as well, but there's housing.berkeley.edu. There is the Cal Rentals, which are for off-campus housing, so och.berkeley.edu, and a couple of other third-party websites that you might want to consider as well. Okay. Listings do go quite quickly, especially at this time of year. Sometimes they go within a couple of days. So do keep that in mind in terms of when you're searching. And we'll go over that in more detail, some other things to consider when you're searching for accommodation later in this presentation. At this point, we are going to start focusing on on-campus housing. I would like to turn it over to our housing liaison, Linessa. Hi, Linessa. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lanessa Lovegreen. I work for UC Berkeley Housing Assignments with the undergrad students. My pronouns are she, her, and we'll get right into it here. Can go to the next slide. So today we're going to talk about the four different types of housing that we can offer. Residence halls, which are kind of the typical American dorm style with a meal plan included. We have apartments for undergraduate students who qualify. Then we'll get into talking about graduate single student apartments for graduate students living without partners or dependents. And then family housing for students living with spouses, partners, or dependents. Can go to the next slide. So, living on campus is really fun. Let's dive right into the benefits of it. So our on-campus housing has been designed to provide students with the opportunity to excel academically and socially by meeting people and making friends. It also provides value and convenience that fits into your lifestyle here at Berkeley. Living on campus is not a requirement. You don't have to do it, but it is a great way to connect with other students socially from the very beginning, which can be really important if you are familiar with Berkeley, you don't know people here, that type of thing. Academic resources, community connection, like I just mentioned, value and convenience are three great things to keep in mind of the benefits of living on campus. Other more practical things are utilities are included. You're not going to have extra bills for your Wi-Fi or your water. In terms of undergraduate housing, our housing is fully furnished, and we'll get into more what grad housing offers. And then we also offer academic year contracts, so they follow the academic year, the school year. We don't require credit checks, co-signers, large deposits, things that can be really difficult to do as a newcomer here in Berkeley. We can go to the next slide. So safety is also really important. We prioritize student safety. We have secure locking and residence hall doors, apartment entryways, and those are locked all the time. Smoke detectors are always working. There is front desk staff and on-call staff available in all of our residence halls and apartment buildings. We also provide something called Safe Walk here at Berkeley, and that is if you are somewhere else at night, you would like to get home back to where you live, you don't want to walk across campus by yourself, you can call, and two people like in this photo here would show up and walk you home. It's a great service, and we'll talk a little bit more about other safety features through the Warm Me app and the safety app for UC Berkeley a little bit later on. All right, so we'll get into it for undergraduate housing. So residence halls, we call our units 1, 2, and 3. We also have Foothill, Stern, which is for women identified students, a place called Clark Kerr, a little bit further away from campus, Blackwell, and Martinez Commons. And these all are places where it's kind of like a bathroom down the hallway. You share common spaces with other roommates and the people in the building, and a meal plan would be included for these places. You can go to the next one. So for first year students, if you're coming in as a first year starting out here at Berkeley, you are only eligible to live in resident hall units. These units are also closed during winter break. So from about December 18th or so until about mid-January, you would be able to leave your belongings behind, but you wouldn't be able to stay in the residence halls. New incoming first years are guaranteed housing for 2 years. If they meet all the deadlines, They're flexible in their preferences, putting any room size, any location. But it means the first year you're guaranteed housing, and then the second year here at Berkeley, you're able to apply and would have that housing guarantee for the second year as well. We can go to the next one. Undergraduate apartments are eligible for students who are in their second year or up, or if you're coming in as a transfer student. They do not include a meal plan, so there's a kitchen available in these apartments. Usually you're sharing a bedroom in the apartment with another student, and then you're sharing a kitchen, a lounge area, bathrooms with the other apartment mates that you will be in the apartment with. They're a really popular option here at Berkeley. People really like our different kinds of apartment buildings that we offer. You can always add a dining plan to your apartment contract. So if you would like to be able to go and eat at the dining hall, you can also do that as well. But it is not included in the original contract. We can go to the next slide. So here are a couple pictures. The first picture is two students sitting in a room. There's a bunk bed on the right-hand side and desks under the bunk bed on the other side with a desk by the window. These students are in a traditional residence hall room with community hallways, a bathroom down the hallway that they would share with many other students, and study spaces in the buildings. Typically, rooms are shared with 1 to 3 other students, like depicted on the picture. A mini suite, and here we have a photo of a bed with some closets along the wall and kind of a staircase going up to a bunk bed on the right-hand side. These would be mini suite style, which means that you share a bathroom with a very small amount of students. So maybe 4 to 5 students. There would be 2 in one bedroom, 3 in another, and then they would share a bathroom together. Suite style is kind of the same thing as students sharing different rooms, and then the rooms would all share a communal living area and also a bathroom. So those are kind of our options when it comes to residence hall spaces. We can go to the next slide. When it comes to apartment types, the first picture here is 2 students sitting on a bed, on each bed, a twin bed in a room. And this is a very typical picture of an apartment double. So 2 students sharing the bedroom. They would have other apartment mates in the other bedroom, and maybe there would be 5, 6, or total 7 students sharing a kitchen and a lounge area as well. The photo in the middle is an apartment triple. It depicts a table with some chairs around it, a lounge area with sofas, window, and a coffee table. And this would be an example of an apartment triple. So 3 students in a room sharing a bedroom with other students sharing kitchen and bathroom. An apartment single, we have a photo here of a student sitting on a bed with a big window and a desk in front of the window with a chair. These students, this is depicting an apartment single, so a student that would be only having a bedroom with themselves, but that they share a kitchen, lounge area, bathroom with other students. And apartment singles are typically reserved for students with a documented disability need. We can go to the next slide. So a few things just to be aware of about living on campus in terms of policies and how things work here. Alcohol and smoking policies are strictly enforced. So students under the age of 21 are not permitted to possess or consume alcohol. UC Berkeley as a whole is a non-smoking campus. Drugs, including marijuana, are not permitted on campus. Having medical marijuana card does not allow you to smoke marijuana on campus. I mentioned a little bit about winter break housing. Residence halls will close during winter and summer breaks. Winter break housing, so the ability to stay in your apartment or your residence hall during winter break, is available in all of our apartment spaces and Martinez Commons, and also graduate and family housing. if you are interested in having kind of more flexible options about when you would want to leave and when you'd want to come back around winter break, and you are a second year student or a transfer student, looking into options like Martinez Commons or the apartments is a better option because you'll get that winter break, the ability to stay over winter break. We can go to the next slide. So how do you do all of this? Housing takeaways. Like I mentioned, new incoming first-year students have a 2-year housing guarantee, but they need to apply for each year. New incoming transfer students are eligible for 1-year housing guarantee, and this is providing that the students meet all the deadlines and conditions. I'll go into the deadlines here on the next page. We can go to the next slide. So dates and deadlines. For first year, the deadline is coming up. It's already May 2nd. For new transfers, it's June 2nd. And if you're coming to Berkeley in the spring, 2027, it would be October 1st. The deadlines, I will say, if you do apply after the deadline, you can completely do it. It's not like the application closes and you're not allowed to apply. You can absolutely send your application in after the deadline. We do not make the housing guarantee in that case, but we do try and send offers to everybody who is interested in living with us, but it depends on our availability. We can go to the next slide. So this is just a small picture here on the right-hand side of our housing portal with the different kind of steps to go through it about welcome, profile questions, theme housing, all of the things that you'll need to fill out in the housing application. You can first fill out your housing application once you have your CalNet ID, and that is how you get into it. In order to have that housing guarantee and for us to be able to send you an offer, you will need to select any room size, any location as your 5th preference. In terms of the other preferences on the application, you can choose wherever you'd like to live. You can, as long as you're eligible for it, you can select it as an option. And you can always edit the application after you submit it as well. There's a $45 application fee in order to finalize your application. We can go to the next slide. Move-in day. So after all of that happens, finally move-in day arrives. For undergraduate students, it will be August 18th and 19th, and it will depend on the building that you are assigned to. So we don't always have very concrete answers about what day your move-in day will be until it gets further on into the summer. Information about your building's move-in day and choosing a time slot in order to move in will be sent out at the end of July. For international students, it's good to know that if you need to buy a plane ticket before, we can tell you where you're moving and what day it is. You can always move in on the last move-in day, but not earlier. That would be August 19th. So if you do need to get a ticket, you can book it for the 19th, and you'll know that you'll be able to get into your building that day. If you're coming back as a returning student, the move-in will be August 23rd. And I'll hand it over to graduate student housing and family housing.
Great. So thank you for coming today to hear our presentation and let us share our information with you. My name is Debbie Cullen, and I'm the Single Student Graduate Housing Coordinator. My pronouns are she and hers. Okay, so there's a lot of great reasons to apply for graduate student housing for single graduate students. There's some really great locations. Actually, all of our locations are close to restaurants and shops, surrounded by the vibrant city of Berkeley and Emeryville and Albany, the different locations. There's a lot of cultural spots, natural beauty. There's easy access to campus, parks, trails, and public transportation. And kind of similar to the undergraduate world, there's a variety of affordable apartment options. And for graduate students, there's a deposit of $500, a security deposit. In order to accept your offer, there's no credit checks or co-signers required. So this is great and in contrast with a lot of what you find in off-campus housing. The rates cover some utilities, high-speed Wi-Fi and furnishings, and that really reduces extra expenses. And then it's just really like a simplified kind of seamless independent living experience. The billing is straightforward. It's through your Cal Central portal, and that is also the portal where you see all of your other invoices, so it'll be very familiar to you. There's independent housing agreements, and that makes budgeting a lot easier. For example, if for some reason you're in an apartment and somebody moves out, you are not responsible for finding a replacement. And that really stands in contrast with off-campus housing. As we see, and we go further through the slides, you'll see that there is fully furnished kitchens. And so you can do your own cooking, but you can also purchase an optional meal plan if you so choose. So to begin, Intersection is an apartment complex that is located in Emeryville, which is about 3 miles from campus. One really standout amenity is in-unit laundry, which is really a boon. These are fully furnished apartments. Some units have a balcony. There is a priority for optometry and Berkeley and Chancellor Fellowship students, but anybody in any field of study is welcome to apply. Another major sort of standout thing is that there's single occupancy bedrooms. And so what that means is that single graduate students will never be sharing a bedroom with anybody else, even in a shared space. They will have their own private bedroom. And then the apartment sizes range from studios to 4 bedrooms. Okay, and then Huchinruwai is it's actually our newest location, and it's located about 3.5 miles from campus in Albany. It also has an in-unit laundry. The spaces are all fully furnished. There's an on-site front desk and mailroom, state-of-the-art fitness center. There's multiple courtyards. There's priority for College of Natural Resource students, but again, anybody in any field of study is welcome to apply. There's single occupancy bedrooms as noted, and then the apartment sizes range from studios to 4 bedrooms. Next slide, please. Okay, and then Manville is located about almost a mile from campus in downtown Berkeley. There are a few furnished, but mainly unfurnished spaces. And this is a project, the furnishing project is underway. It's just not reached completion. There is building laundry access, but just not in-unit access. There's priority for first-year JD law students, but again, anybody in any field of study is welcome to apply. Jackson House is our closest in proximity to campus. It's located about 1 block from campus. These spaces are fully furnished. There's also building laundry access, and priority is for about 7 different fellowship recipient types, but again, anybody can apply. And as noted, there's single occupancy bedrooms, and then the apartment sizes range from 2 bedrooms to 6 bedrooms. Okay, so graduate housing move-in begins on Saturday, August 15th. Students can move in after, but not prior to the housing start date unless approved by the housing office for required orientation. So we are this year providing some options for early move-in for students who have confirmed orientation dates. So if you apply, we can talk with you about that further. But the earliest move-in date would be like August 10th. So again, we can talk with you about that further. Rent is prorated based on the start and end dates, and financial responsibility does begin on the start date. So even if you do move in after your start date, you are still financially responsible beginning on your start date. And then we always encourage students to be checking their email for important updates. And we do send move-in instructions and information specifically tailored to each graduate housing location well in advance of your move-in date. So there will be like no surprises. And over to family housing.
All right, thank you, Debbie. Hello, everyone. My name is Melanie Vega, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm one of the family housing coordinators at UC Berkeley, alongside my colleague Alda, who is our other family housing coordinator on the Zoom, in case you guys have any questions related to family housing. So family housing is at University Village Apartments, or you'll sometimes see that abbreviated as UVA. This is a family-focused community that was designed specifically for couples and families in mind. So if you are coming to Berkeley with a spouse or partner, or maybe you have children or other dependents like other family members such as parents or siblings, you could apply to live with those family members in University Village. And it's an area designed specifically to support those students and their family members living together and also balancing those school commitments and familial commitments. We do have dedicated staff on site, and the graduate and family living team is basically like Res Life for undergraduates, but for the graduate and family side. And so they organize events and offer support. And if you move in, you'll get the newsletter with all the information about things coming up so that you can meet your neighbors and feel part of the community. Family housing is also an affordable campus option. Again, we only have a $500 security deposit like graduate housing. A lot of off-campus places will ask for a whole month's rent as your security deposit, so this could be a much more affordable option. You also don't need to have a cosigner. We don't do credit checks. And the rental rate that we have posted on our website includes all of your utilities. So that includes water, electricity, internet, and that's all included. So you don't have to worry about any extra bills on top of that. And it is a month-to-month rental agreement. So our housing contract or the rental agreement, when you sign it, you get to set when you want to move in your application, what your start date will be. And we send out offers year round. And then when you're ready to move out, whether that's, once you've graduated or, at some other point in the year, you just provide your 30 days notice and you can vacate family housing. Next slide. So a little bit about University Village. It is located right across the way from Huchun Ruai, actually about 3.5 miles west of campus in Albany. There are several bus stops around the village, including one right in front of Huchun Ruai, and those buses would take you right up to campus. So you have easy, convenient public transportation access. Another of the buses will also connect you over to BART, and with your UC Berkeley admission, you also have your Clipper card. So you've got easy access to tap into the public transit. But there is also one assigned parking spot per apartment. You pay for the parking permit, and then you've got a guaranteed spot for your apartment if you do have a vehicle or if you get a vehicle. Our apartments also range in size. We have the smallest being 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartments, which are great for, just the individual couples. And then if you're coming with a larger family, our biggest apartments are 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. And then we have units kind of in the middle as well. There are plenty of amenities at University Village you can access, such as study centers, an academic center, a family resource center, and a community center. There's also a community garden and lots of green space and nice trails that you could just walk around. And then for those of you who do have children, our little bears, there is a playground. There's the early childhood education program that a lot of residents enroll their children in. And then the University Village falls within the Albany Unified School District, so you'd be able to enroll your children in the Albany Unified schools. All right, next slide. So for family housing, there is an additional step in the application because we have to confirm your eligibility. And you do need to be a full-time registered UC Berkeley student with more than 6 months remaining in your program, and you must be living with family members. So that could be, maybe you're a single parent living with minor dependents who you have to have at least 50% custody and they're staying with you at least 50% of the year. If you're living with adult family members, they do need to be living with you full time, and that could be a domestic partner or a spouse. It could be even that you are living with an adult dependent, such as like a parent, or maybe you're a minor, still under 18 and dependent upon your parents. You can also apply. And then specifically for graduate students, we do have a couples program, and this is for graduate student couples who are not married or in a domestic partnership, but they do want to apply to live in housing with their partner. One of them is a UC Berkeley graduate student. The other could be a student, but does not have to be. And they are limited, however, to applying only for the West Village 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment for that couples program. So that's one of the limitations there, but it would allow you to live with your partner in campus housing. And for graduate and family housing to apply, it's very similar to undergraduate housing. Our application is online in the housing portal, you will need to have accepted your offer of admission. So you have your CalNet credentials to log into the housing portal. We always recommend you do your research and check the website and our rates page to narrow down what your preferences will be, because you do get to list several preferences. And then once you submit the application, there is a $45 non-refundable application fee. And for family housing, you'll submit the documents that show the familial relationships to confirm your eligibility for family housing. And then once you are on our wait list and we identify housing, we'll send you an offer via email. So it is important that you check your email regularly for any updates about your application or for any offers that we might send. And just a couple reminders. For the single student graduate apartments, it is a 12-month housing agreement, whereas family housing is a month-to-month rental agreement. Our housing is not guaranteed. We don't have a housing guarantee like the undergraduate housing, but we do our best to always send an offer. And if your preferences are flexible, we usually can. But we do recommend that you apply as soon as possible because the earliest applicants do receive priority. And, that helps in ensuring we can send you an offer when space is limited. If you wait till after the school year has already started, sometimes housing may have filled up and, we might have a harder time getting you a place.
Thank you so much. Melanie, before we move on, I do want to address a couple of questions that are in the chat box just because they do pertain to graduate housing, if you don't mind. Maybe the first question from Chani Dapha. I've received an offer for Huchon Ruwai apartment. I was wondering if it would be possible to extend the decision deadline. My company will be sponsoring my housing, and I need additional time to complete their internal approval process before I can formally accept the offer. Maybe this question could be generally about the decision deadlines and if there's any flexibility there. Anyone
So,
wants to answer?
hi, yes, we can extend a deadline, but kind of not indefinitely. So you can email us at graduatestudenthousing@berkeley.edu. So for instance, if your deadline is Friday, we can extend you until like the next Tuesday. So like 4 to 5 days. We just can't extend sort of like 2 weeks and such, if that makes sense.
I would say that's similar for family housing. If we send an offer and you need a little bit more time to consider, we can usually extend another few days, but we don't hold the offers indefinitely because while that offer is held for you, it means we can't offer it out to another student on the list. And someone might be waiting there saying like, oh, I hope I get housing. And for family housing, we do send 2 offers. So there is an option, to decline an offer. But if you do decline a second offer for family or a first offer for family housing to wait for a second offer, you have to wait until everyone else has received a first offer. And so you're basically kind of at the end of the list, and it could be a long wait before you get a second offer for family housing.
Thank you
And
so
I'll
much.
just
Oh, sorry, go ahead, please.
add more things. So, if and in regard to single graduate housing, if you decline an offer, we can place you back on the wait list. And as Melanie kind of said, other students who have not received an offer would receive priority, but we can place somebody back on a wait list. They don't just get the one offer necessarily.
Great. Thank you so much, both. Great question. We do have one more question. Actually, we have 2 questions from Marilyn. Marilyn, I'm actually going to save your transportation question. Maybe we could cover it now, but I think maybe your first question for sure we can cover now. Uh, can we move into the residence halls later than August 19th? And is the residence hall also available for first year graduate students? I'm not sure if anyone wants to have a go at answering that one.
Yeah, I can answer that one.
Thank you.
Yes, you can definitely move in later than August 19th. August 18th and 19th, and then the days after those days are reserved for Golden Bear orientation, so kind of a whole orientation program for brand new students. That's for the undergraduate side I'm talking about. But in general, classes at Berkeley, I believe they would start on the 26th of August. So move-in is almost a week before classes start. Unfortunately, no, graduate students cannot live in our residence halls. They are for undergraduate students only.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. I think, Marilyn, we will save your question about transportation maybe for our general Q&A at the end, since it's probably a question that we can cover for undergraduate and graduate housing. So I think for now we can continue. Keep your questions coming in. I appreciate your questions. We'll move on talking about summer housing. I think that's back with you, Vanessa.
Yeah, exactly. So I talked about how our residence halls and undergraduate apartments don't offer housing during the summer, but there is housing that we can offer. So if you are a current new visiting student, you can be eligible for on-campus housing in the summertime. It's the same housing portal to go in. It's a different application for summer, but that is how you would apply. We have one type of housing called summer sessions housing, and that aligns with the summer sessions that UC Berkeley offers for the academic calendar. Um, that would be in residence halls. There are some apartment options, I believe, and then full support from our residential life team in the buildings. The other option is summer experience housing, and that is a much more flexible option. Flexible move-in dates, move-out dates. Housing is in our anchor house building, and summer experience housing is probably the better option for graduate students looking for short-term housing before the August 15th graduate housing move-in start date. There's a lot more information on Summer Housing's website, and there's an email address there for questions as well. And we'll go into accommodation requests. Providing safe, affirming, and inclusive housing is our priority. UC Berkeley works with students to accommodate and support disability, religious, cultural, or gender identity-based needs. If you feel like this speaks to you and you would like to request this, there is a form in the housing application that you tick the box and follow the instructions that you get. There's also some information on our website on how to apply for housing accommodations. And if you would like to learn more about how we support accommodations, you can visit our website or also reach out to us at housingaccommodations@ucberkeley.edu. We can go to the next slide. We really encourage you to take virtual tours of our housing. Berkeley is a big place. We've got a lot to show. This QR code will get you to our tour page on our website, but you can also navigate it by just getting onto our website. And there's a lot to see there that goes way beyond just a few photos on each web page. We can go to the next slide. Yes, so all of these resources can be found at housing.berkeley.edu. Take our virtual tours, check out some of the many videos that we have about our different housing options. You can read about accommodations, requests, tips and resources, checklists for moving in, links to residential services. They're all available on our webpage. And you can see the web pages for housing, undergraduate, graduate, and family housing.
I want to thank Vanessa, Melanie, Debbie, Alda, and apologies if I missed anyone. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise for on-campus housing for undergraduates and graduate students. They will be sticking around for the rest of this call if you do have any questions that come up. Maybe before we move on to talk about off-campus housing, I'll address maybe one question in the Q&A. I'm not sure if we can answer it, but I'll ask it anyway from an anonymous participant. For the undergraduate meal plans, it mentions meal swipes and meal swipe equivalencies are subject to usage limits. If I get the ultimate plan upgrade, which has unlimited meal swipes per week, how would the usage limits apply? I'm not sure if we can answer that, but I'm not sure. Maybe Lanessa, do we have anything on that?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. So in terms of the residence halls, included in the residence hall rate is our blue and gold meal plan, which means you get 2 swipes 2 times to go to the dining halls per day. You can choose breakfast and dinner, lunch and dinner, lunch and a banana, whatever you would like to do at the dining hall, that's what would be included in our residence hall meal plans. If you would like to upgrade, you can go to the ultimate plan, which this participant mentions here. And the ultimate plan is unlimited. So you can go to all 3 times at the dining hall. I think you can even go in and stop by and get a banana if you'd like to. I believe this sentence, meal swipes and meal swipe equivalencies are subject to usage limits. There are some timing things in terms of using the meal plan, like you can't just swipe and run in and swipe and run in again. And I think that's what it's referring to. But there would be more information on UC Berkeley Dining's webpage about that, or you're welcome to reach out to us so we can find the resource to answer that question better.
Thank you so much, Lanessa. It's very helpful. We will talk now about off-campus housing. We'll start with some general points before we go too far into this section. When we talk about off-campus housing, we're going to start with non-affiliated housing. So this is not associated with UC Berkeley. You would be dealing with private landlords, management companies. Indeed, like Jendai was here earlier from Identity. Hi, Jendai. So that sort of a person would be working with you. Typically, they would be 12-month leases. And in most cases, you will need to show some kind of financial backing or proof. You are likely to need a co-signer in some cases. So these are some points to consider if you are going to start looking for housing off campus. Um, some other points to consider. I'm going to actually turn over to Elaine, who is from the OCH off-campus housing department, and we're very grateful for her time today to talk a little bit about off-campus housing. Hi, Elaine. Thanks so much for your time.
Hello. Of course, my dogs decided to have a whole chorus behind me, and I do apologize for
No
that.
problem.
As soon as you said my name, they're like, yeah. Anyway, so yes, my name is Elaine Perkins Smith, and I am the off-campus housing coordinator here at UC Berkeley. And here in the housing office, we do maintain a database of listings that are available in Berkeley and the surrounding areas. We have different type of housing available. We have rooms for rent, shared situations, as well as full apartments and houses. In addition to the listing types, we also have a roommate section where you can connect with your peers. Some of them may have housing, but some of them don't. You guys can do that search together. Um, we also have a really good resource page, especially if you're new to the area. It will tell you how to look for housing. We talk about different neighborhoods. We even talk about how to make a phone call because sometimes, this is your first time getting your feet wet and it's going out in the community. So we try to support you as much as possible with that transaction. As you can see here, we do give you an up to the minute update of rent averages in the Berkeley area. And if you go a little bit deeper into that, if you want to look outside of Berkeley, you will be able to find those rent averages there as well. We also provide counseling to you. If you're coming to Berkeley, we will, and you have questions about neighborhoods, when to look and all those things. That's something that we can sit down and have a conversation about. So, we're just here to support you with looking for off-campus housing and try to make that transition as easy as possible. So that is it.
Thank you so much, Elaine. I do want to shout out the resources section on the OCH website. It is super helpful. So definitely encourage you guys to check that out as maybe a first stop to understanding the off-campus market and trends in Berkeley. Thank you so much, Elaine. And also off-campus, we will find International House. We've also got a representative from International House, or sometimes called iHouse, with us today. Hi, Camilla. Thanks so much for your time today. And I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Camilla Chokri. I'm the Assistant Director of Resident Engagement here at International House. And I'm really excited to share a little bit with you about what makes us unique and kind of what we offer as an all-inclusive residential experience, not just a residence hall. And so when you're looking at the prices, right, really thinking about how the living situation and dining is included included in iHouse, and then as well as all of the programming that we do. Our mission at iHouse is to foster intercultural respect, understanding, lifelong friendships, and leadership skills. And so if you are looking for more of a community-based living situation, I would highly consider living at International House. We have opportunities for residents to work in different roles, to get engaged. We host a lot of programming throughout the year. Over 200 events and programs happen every year at International House. And we currently have students representing over 70 nations at iHouse this year. And so those are just a few things to think about in terms of what you want, right? And so we predominantly have graduate students. However, we are open to undergrad as well. And we are also open to international and domestic students. I think sometimes folks think that we're just open for international students. However, we are open to all. And then we have many different support systems within the house as well. Our RAs, our program leads, marketing leads, event services, our admissions and financial aids team. So everyone is really here to support you in community. I might be biased, but I think we have one of the best meal plans and dining halls on campus. We definitely cater to and work with our residents. One of the beautiful things that our residents have an opportunity to do is actually share their cuisines with the rest of the house. And so working with our dining team to collaborate on what they want to see represented. So again, that's included in the cost. We're located in the north side of campus, so we're right next to the stadium, as well as across from the law school. And then what I would recommend doing is checking out our website as well as our Instagram. If you're interested in learning more about like some of the programs that we host, our Instagram is a great place to look. We are affiliated with UC Berkeley, and our housing is only open to UC Berkeley students, again, both undergraduate and graduate, but we're not technically on campus housing, but we're really close and we work closely with our partners at UC Berkeley. And then I really want to emphasize the fact that we do have financial aid available to iHouse residents. So if that is something that you are looking into, you can definitely reach out. For any questions about the logistics of applications, please feel free to reach out to our admissions team at that email listed on the screen. And if you have any programmatic questions, I'm also happy to drop my email in the chat if you'd like to learn a little bit more about what we do as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Camilla, so much. I do also want to co-sign the comment about programming at International House. Berkeley International Office often hosts events with International House, so we're partners in that regard. And I would say that there are some really great programming events that you can take a part in at iHouse. And also shout out to their meal plan and dining comments. It is delicious, I agree. Some great questions coming in through the chat box. I think I think we'll go back to questions at the end. I think if you have a question about iHouse, feel free to ask, or a question about off-campus housing, please keep them coming in. Otherwise, we'll keep moving. We have a few more topics to talk about today. We are going to talk about some of the neighborhoods that you'll find in Berkeley and some points to consider there. We'll discuss what Greek life refers to in the context of UC Berkeley. We'll talk about the co-ops. We already talked a little bit about iHouse. So we'll keep going for talking about neighborhoods. So the UC Berkeley campus is located in that kind of red circle that you'll see there. And in terms of, Camilla was just mentioning iHouse is next to the stadium. You'll see that the stadium is kind of on the east side of that circle there. And Berkeley International Office is located kind of on the west edge of that circle by downtown Berkeley BART station. Some of the neighborhoods around campus that you will encounter include obviously South Side. South Side is where you will find a lot of undergraduate students. It tends to be quite a busy area with a lot of bookshops, cafes, restaurants. It's usually quite busy and a lot of things going on over there on Telegraph Avenue. A lot of student housing is available on South Side. So a big student population there in South Side. North Side, by comparison, is a little bit quieter is where you might find maybe more graduate students, and also a lot of the STEM major buildings are located on this side of campus. So if you are studying a STEM major, you might want to consider the north side of campus, or residences in that area. There are some residence halls on this side. It tends to be a little bit quieter than the south side. South side is where you'll find most of our residence halls. There are some on the north side, so it is a little bit quieter. There are some restaurant and grocery options as well. Probably a little bit more expensive in terms of the price point, in terms of those restaurants and grocery options out there. And it might also be a little bit quieter in terms of things closing earlier as well. The co-ops are located here, and we're going to talk a little bit about the co-ops as well in a moment. West Side and downtown. So downtown is where you'll find Berkeley International Office. It is right next to campus, walking distance. It is, again, a very kind of busy area, a lot of businesses, a lot of shops. There's the downtown Berkeley BART station. It is more of a city feel, probably more expensive than other areas due to its transportation and convenience. There's the BART station and a lot of AC transit hubs. So for the bus services, there's a lot of stops in that location. It's got a lot of kind of charming Victorian farmhouses that are kind of traditional Berkeley architecture. So a little bit more of an older kind of architectural style there that you would enjoy. What is Greek life? So some of you might be curious to know or get involved in fraternities and sororities. So that's what we refer to when we talk about Greek life. It's typically not open to new students, only open to current students, but there's often opportunities for building leadership, service to community. It's a great way to make friends. It might not be an option for an incoming student for fall, but you might want to consider that as a future option. You do need to apply and join a specific fraternity or sorority, and you can see on that website, lead.berkeley.edu, you can find some of those fraternities and sororities. Some of them do also have housing options. Co-ops. So co-op is short for cooperative living. It's where you'll find many students living together in the same house, which does mean it's a bit cheaper. Residents are expected to take part in the upkeep of the co-op. So you are expected to clean, to cook. You're expected to socialize. It's a very sociable area, and it's very easy to find and make connections. There's often many rooms available at the beginning of the year, but it is a popular option, and you might be subject to a waiting list. If you are interested, www.bsc.coop might be a website to check out. It is certainly a more affordable option, and one where you might find more of a social vibe than other accommodation options. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about the cost of living, and what you can expect for living off campus. Elaine, feel free to chime in if I miss anything here, but in terms of off campus, some things to consider. Prices will vary considerably when it comes to off campus. You really can find a great variety of types of house, types of apartment, number of people in a residence, and rent may vary. Security deposit, be aware that if you are living off campus, you're typically expected to provide first and last month's rent. So you do need to budget that in if you are going to be arriving for off-campus housing. You will typically have utility setup costs, and also utilities, which typically refers to electricity, cable, and water, are typically not included in the rent. So you do need to consider that in terms of your budget. Oftentimes, when you're living off campus, the accommodation will not have its own furnishings. You might have to bring your own, or provide your own furnishings, and that will come with additional expense as well. So a lot of the things to consider in terms of off-campus housing costs. In terms of housing contracts, there's a few things that we would like you to know. Obviously, when you are living off campus, and anyone wants to chime in here from the housing team, feel free to let me know in terms of what you should know. When you sign a contract, it's an agreement between two parties, which is typically enforceable by law. Really take time to read the whole contract, including the fine print. Do not rush into anything. Make sure that you read and understand everything that you are signing up for. Do not sign if you are not clear about something. There is a lot of legal language involved in a contract that you might not be familiar with. Don't avoid it. Don't skip it. Try to take some time and reach out if you need some assistance with understanding that contract. Do also check out Berkeley International Office's Arrival Guide. We have a PDF on our website. So if you search for Berkeley International Office Arrival Guide, we have a document which includes some leasing terminology, some vocabulary that might help you in terms of understanding some of the words used and terms used in contracts and on housing websites. Be brave and ask questions. It is your contract and your money. You are entitled to ask questions. It's certainly not unreasonable to ask questions before signing a contract, and do not be pressured into signing anything if you do have a concern that you need addressed. Okay? Do not assume that all the important items are mentioned by your landlord or management. You might need to ask questions that are not assumed. Um, and please, this is a very important point there. You'll see my last bullet point. Do not sign an on-campus housing contract and an off-campus housing contract at the same time. These are typically binding contracts for the duration of the lease. And if you sign both at the same time, you might find yourself locked into two contracts that you cannot get out of, and that would be a vast expense that you would seek to avoid. So please do not sign any contracts until you are ready to commit to that contract that you're signing. Um, I would suggest that you start looking already. You had a lot of resources provided to you on this call today. You can wait until later in the summer. Most turnover would take place in May and June. There is still availability in July and August. It is a very busy time of year. A lot of people moving in and out of Berkeley during the summer, people finishing their programs, doing summer programs, and starting for fall. So do continue to look, but be aware that the market does kind of intensify over the May to August period. Scams, of course, we want to make sure that you are being careful about what you look at online. Scams and fraudulent activity is often quite common, unfortunately, when it comes to internet posts about housing for university students. So these often primarily appear as online advertisements. Websites such as Craigslist.org is a very common one where you might find a scam or a fraudulent actor. The contact person will insist that you send them money for housing accommodations, even though you have not yet visited the property in person. Then, when students show up to the address, the place is unavailable or might not even exist. So, if you are required to wire money ahead of time, please be sure to do your due diligence. Check that the housing post is legitimate. Look up the address on a search engine, first to make sure that it's a residential building. Try to arrange a digital viewing on Zoom or FaceTime to confirm that it's a real address and to see the unit in person. If possible, if you know somebody in the Berkeley area, you might want to ask them to maybe take a look at the housing that you've identified on your behalf. Um, and always consider that if it's too good to be true, it may very well be. Remember that the cow rentals chart, I think Elaine mentioned earlier that there is that rent estimate chart where you can see the average rents. If you're finding a property that looks too good to be true, where the rent is incredibly low for what they're offering, then that might give you a reason to pause before going any further. Okay. We'll cover a little bit of general information as well. So when you are coming to campus, and this applies obviously if you're going to on-campus housing or off-campus housing, you do need to satisfy the vaccination requirements as mandated by the UC Office of the President by the established deadlines. If you go to the UHS, University Health Services page, you can see the requirements in detail. And please do not forget or leave these to the last minute. You are required to confirm that you have the necessary immunization and vaccination requirements fulfilled. Okay, I think Lanessa mentioned earlier we have some more information about safety and keeping safe in Berkeley. We do get questions about Berkeley and the Bay Area and safety. I would say that, like any city, you have to be cautious and aware of your surroundings. If possible, you want to try to avoid going out late alone at night, simply because it is, a fairly large city, and if you're planning to study late, I should say, then please use the safety resources that we have available to you on campus. Nightsafety.berkeley.edu is a good place to familiarize yourself with those. Vanessa mentioned them earlier, but there is a few more here. So there's the Bear Walk Escort. If you need a short distance to get home, you can have someone come and walk with you. So that's Safe Walk, which operates from dusk until 3 a.m., dusk meaning nightfall. Okay. The night safety shuttle operates from 7:30 p.m. till 3 a.m., so that will take you around campus and surrounding areas. There's also a door-to-door service that operates from 3 a.m. to 5:30 a.m. You can view a map of the service area and make a request using this Downtowner app, which you'll see on the bottom there, the UC Berkeley Safe Walk app. There's also a UC Berkeley Safety app, which you can download, and that's like a one-stop location to keep track of any notifications of anything going on in the local area that you should be aware of. In general, when you are in the city, and that could be in Berkeley, in Oakland, Emeryville, San Francisco, please be vigilant of your surroundings. Walk in pairs and groups if possible. Try to avoid isolated or deserted areas and use well-lit, well-traveled routes whenever possible. Okay, I think a quick note about about the Berkeley Rent Board, excuse me. The Berkeley Rent Board actually has a lot of information for renters and landlords. You can find some really helpful information for new renters and a checklist for ensuring that your rental property is safe. The Berkeley Rent Board can also assist you to review your contract if you have any questions. So it's definitely a good resource to keep in mind when you do have that contract and you would like a second look at that contract. In addition, there are some on-campus resources that might help in that regard. There is a student legal services page, sls.berkeley.edu, which provides counsel to students. If you are encountering a dispute with your landlord or your property manager, then you can enlist the services of student legal services. They may be able to assist you. There's also the Basic Needs Center. The Basic Needs Center can provide resources and support for students who are experiencing food and housing insecurity. I really recommend that if you are, hopefully, as you're coming to Berkeley, you are in a fairly stable financial situation. But if anything does happen during your time at Berkeley, which does present you with some financial challenges, I do recommend filling out the Basic Needs Center assistance form. They ask you a few questions, collect some information, and then they can reach out to you with any assistance that they might be able to provide. So I do recommend that as a resource as well. And yeah, we're really grateful for your time, everyone. I know it's maybe late wherever you're joining us from in the world, but we're super excited to see you here at Berkeley, and we're here to answer any questions that you have about accommodation. And we look forward to welcoming you here to Berkeley.